So we're here at Gold Point Forge, and this is my personal shop. And so the hats I wear with RMJ Tactical, I designed knives and tomahawks. I design things, and I design the process to make things. I was interested in weapons as a kid. I was the kid that was running around the woods, with a machete strapped to my back, playing ninja or being an Indian or, what have you. So I grew up in a household with lots of history books, lots of archaeology stuff. My parents met through amateur archaeology, so I grew up with a lot of books about weapons in the house. One time I told my mom that I used to be a settler, a pioneer, and she said, "You used to be a pioneer?" I said, "Yeah, I was killed by a tomahawk." I would be making tomahawks if I had to pile them up in a closet. That's what I do. It's what I've done since I was a kid. Why we make tomahawks? One of the reasons is because we do it the best. We have the historical perspective, we have the modern engineering perspective. We marry ancient process, ancient concepts with high technology. The experience of old world craftsmanship and technology, and we have the experience and know-how of modern day manufacturing. And the thing that really sets us apart is that we fuse the two every day. We're fusing high-end CNC technology with old world hand craftsmanship with everything we make. We design what we make what we design. In our industry, you have a lot of places where they're making knives, but they don't necessarily design them, or people are designing knives, but they don't really make them. And I think that's a real distinction. Everything we do is done in-house as far as we design it from the ground up. We make all of our own fixtures. We do as many processes as we can in-house so that we have as much control on it as possible. When RMJ Tactical started out, we were strictly tomahawks. I never felt a need to make something that was already being taken care of by somebody else. And that never made sense to me until someone couched the phrase, "We want you to make a knife that complements the tomahawks you make." And that made sense, because you look at the frontiersman carried a knife, he carried a tomahawk. Sometimes they were made by the same maker. The tomahawk took care of certain chores that were too heavy for the knife to take care of. And so in that spirit, we started making knives. And we make a wide variety of knives. Sometimes knives are small, meant for hunting purposes. Sometimes we make small knives that are meant for carry on your person. Sometimes we make large combat knives that are meant to be, used in a battlefield situation. When I design a knife, the very first thing I think of is the hand. It's the interaction of you and the blade. And so your hand is where that interaction happens. One thing I say a lot to the crew is I always say design is an iterative process. In other words, we make something, we make small changes, improvements to get us closer to our goal, and we implement those changes in the next batch. In that next batch, we use feedback, we make small changes, we keep continuously improving the product. And so each batch is different from batch to batch, small improvements, small changes. You can set up big manufacturing to spit out thousands and thousands of pieces, make a less expensive product, but you're going to be stuck with that design forever. Our process is a much more expensive process, but it allows us to change on the fly. We're not a one-man show, right? So I design and I prototype and things like that, and I'm the RMJ, right? But it occurred to me several years ago that I have a very talented crew. I felt it was important to get them involved in the design process. So about 3 years back, I started asking certain members of our crew, I said, look, I want you to design something, and I want you to design the item and the process cradle to grave. It was probably a painful process for them. They worked really hard at it, but what it did was it got them thinking about what they were doing at work in a different way. So now when you look at a design, an RMJ design, understand that the crew has a very intimate knowledge of design. They have a very intimate knowledge of our philosophy, our design philosophy, and that makes a big difference in how we do things. When you look at Vanessa in shipping, she approaches it like a craft. It's the same thing with Olivia when it comes to running numbers and doing accounting and taking care of customers. With Richard, talking to people and making sure that we're going where we need to go. Charles, sharpening. Charles has turned sharpening into an art form. Everybody is quality control. So anybody in the shop can take a look at something and say, nope, this goes back on the rack, because there's something that needs to be, something's not quite up to par. And that goes from Vanessa in shipping to Jonathan in machining to Spartan in Cerakote. Everyone has that ability to say, this is not good enough. There's a lot of ways to make money. You can make money a lot of different ways. There's a lot more efficient ways of making money than the way we do it. So if it was about making money, we'd be doing something else. We do it because we love it, because we enjoy it, and we love our craft. So when we see opportunities to use that craft to solve problems, we're anxious to use that as a solution. When we make something for military or law enforcement use, or even for somebody that's going out on a wilderness trek, you don't have that option of getting the do-over. If something breaks, it's a life or death situation. And so at that point, you're less worried about warranty and more worried about performance. We recognize that there are situations when you're using a tool like a tomahawk that you've had one shot at it. Essential gear for the backcountry hike or exploring in the woods, I think the number one piece of gear is mindset. So this mindset that you see prevalent in our society right now is the idea that somebody's going to take care of me. And boy, that's a bad mindset to take into the woods. The mindset of I'm in charge of me is the most important thing you can take out in the woods. And then you gear up accordingly. I don't want the limiting factor to be your knife or your tomahawk or your whatever you happen to have. That should not ever get in the way. Your ingenuity, your fitness for the situation is what should dominate. And your gear should only facilitate that, not limit you in your options. The tool is not the end. I make tomahawks and I make knives. I don't want that to be the end of the story. I don't want you to buy a knife from me and put it in your sock drawer. I want you to slap that thing on and go out with your kids and go on that 3 or 4 mile hike and show them the old abandoned mine, or go see the waterfalls or something like that. That's the real story. The knife is just a means to that.